Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pointy Not Sharp. Today we're back out here at the Lone Pine Barracks Infantry Museum, taking a look at a couple of the items within their collection. This one here is quite large. I can only just manage to get it in frame, even with my tripod all the way up. What we have here is a Imperial German or Prussian Seitengewehr 1871. Very, very nice bayonet. I've been chasing one of these for a very, very long time. Unfortunately, they usually do sell for a lot, so I really struggled to track one down for a decent price. But as I said, I'm in the museum today and they're letting me take a look at one of theirs. Now, they're usually absolutely gorgeous bayonets. This one does have a lacquer on it, and it's been applied as a preservation tactic probably about 50 years ago here in the museum. They don't still practice that, but back in the day they did, so it has a lacquer on it. So the dark finish to it is not original. Usually they are very much in the white and absolutely gorgeous. Now, these were made to fit initially the Gewehr 71, and then later they were also used on the Gewehr 88 commission rifles. So they're made by a whole bunch of different manufacturers in Germany, the usual suspects in Suhl and Zollingen. And this one actually has two different manufacturer markings on it, so I don't know what to make of that. Maybe one of them's a refurbisher, maybe it was made one and assembled another. I don't know. All I do know is that there was less than, let me check my notes, 1.9 million made between 1871 and 1890. Now, a little bit of history. Prior to the Gewehr 71, which was the first of the Mauser rifles, by the way, Prussia, or Imperial Germany, whatever you want to call them back then, I should really know, were using the Drazy needle gun. And that used a socket bayonet and a whole bunch of different sabre bayonets, some of which were similar to this. So they already had something similar to this in service. On the 22nd of March, 1872, Germany, or whatever you want to call them back there, Prussia, officially adopted the Gewehr 71. And with it, they adopted this bayonet here, which came with a nice big leather scabbard, which unfortunately I don't have to show you today. Now, this rifle had a couple of different versions and upgrades over the years. In 1884, they introduced an update to that rifle called the Gewehr 71/84. And that came with a revised bayonet. So while the 71 had this long, beautiful sabre, the 71/84 came with a short little knife bayonet. And as far as I can tell, it was the first of the knife bayonets. But that didn't last very long, because only 2 years later, the French introduced their Lebel rifles in 1886. And that came with a long Rosalie bayonet, absolutely gorgeous piece, one of my favorites. And to counter that, Germany got a little bit nervous, so when they brought out their Gewehr 88 repeating rifles, they reintroduced this bayonet with them, and they continued making them for about 2 years. I imagine they had a bunch still in stock. Eventually, the bayonet was replaced. Well, it wasn't replaced, but 1898 they introduced the Gewehr 98, and that came with a whole new series of bayonets. The Gewehr 98, which was a long skinny boy, and then the 9802 for engineers, pioneers, and then the revised 9805 butcher blade. So come World War I, they had a whole range of different bayonets in service, and these were actually still in service during World War I, although in a reserve capacity. Even in World War II, very, very limited, these saw some service as well. Anyway, that's the history. We'll jump into the actual construction. So we have a really long, gorgeous blade with that classic Mauser rounded fuller, traveling down probably 80% of the blade. Then we have a nice flat spine, a sharpened true edge, and a false edge. Now this one has a damaged tip or damaged point, so I can't tell what it originally looked like, but I imagine like all of your Argentinian 1891s will just have that spear point tip on it. Moving down, we've got a ricasso with our manufacturer's information. that we have this absolutely gorgeous crossguard with a forward-facing quillin and a rearwards-facing quillin and a muzzle ring right there. I absolutely love the look of this. I just think it's very, I don't even know how to describe it, I just love it. Anyway, moving down, we've got a brass handle or hilt, whatever you prefer to call it, both are correct. And it appears to be a single piece that slides onto the tang with a couple of pins, 2 pins going through it. Then we have a leaf spring on one side and the button on the other. This one is very stiff, probably because of the lacquer. And you'll probably notice on the right grip we have a textured pattern, and on the left grip we don't. And this is usually nice and polished, by the way, guys, usually very clean. Moving down, we've got the big eagle beak, nose, whatever you want to call that, pommel, and that's really about it. Now the scabbard, if I had the scabbard to show you, would have a leather body and then a metal chape and locket. However, during World War I, when these were reissued again, they brought out a second style of scabbard, which was just a complete metal body scabbard. So that's the bayonet. There's not too much more to say about it. Well, there probably is. There's probably a lot more to say, and I'm probably being very, very brief. But at the end of the day, I'm not an expert in this style of bayonet. I just think they're neat. We'll just jump into the markings. So usually you'll have the manufacturer's details on one side of the ricasso. And here we have Alexander Kopel Zollingen, which is one of our classic German manufacturers. But then on the reverse, we've also got Erfurt. That's another one of our German manufacturers. So I don't know, maybe Alexander Kopel made it and Erfurt refurbished it years later, or maybe one made it and one assembled it. Who knows? Or maybe they're one and the same company at one point. I really don't know, but yeah. Then on the spine, we have our property mark. So we have W at the top, which is our royal cipher for Kaiser Wilhelm. And I believe that's Wilhelm I in 1880. I forget the exact years of his reign. I think it was 88 that it changed over. We had 3 Kaisers in 1 year, 2 Wilhelms and 1, I can't remember the third. Anyway, and beneath that we have a number. Here we have 80. Now, many will have you believe that's a year of manufacture. That's actually a year of acceptance. So this was accepted into service in 1880 and potentially manufactured that year or prior to then. Now, other markings we have on this particular model, we have our inspection stamps here in the pommel. Hard to make out through the lacquer and the damage. And that's really it. Often you will also find unit markings on these, on the cross guards and on the lockets on the scabbard. But I don't have the scabbard, and this particular example does not have unit markings. Whether that means they've been removed or they were never there, I can't say. With the unit markings, Imperial Germany stopped applying them pretty much at the start of World War I. So it's very common that bayonets manufactured after about 1914 don't have them, but this was made either 1880 or prior. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you. They're just absent. Anyway, really neat bayonet. I'd like to say thanks to the Lone Pine Barracks Infantry Museum for letting me check it out. If you're ever up here, I highly recommend you stop in because they have some absolutely fantastic displays and exhibits. That's all I've got for you today. If I've made any mistakes, as always, please feel free to correct me down in the comments. Thanks for watching.